Great. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
So we're here to talk about an event of moon disaster.
Yeah. Yep.
How did you guys come up with the title?
Well, our drummer, about a little over a year ago, we were in the process of literally releasing our last record, which was kind of a political dystopian record, I would say, called Polite Conversation. And we were literally in the process of releasing it. And she came across this speech. She's, an avid reader, so she's a fan of, essays and speeches and other things like that, as well as books. But she found this, just kind of at random, is what we thought, I should say. She found the speech, and then when she read it, she was just so moved by it that she brought it to me and had an idea, like, what if we use some of these lines maybe and create a song. And then the speech, though, is literally entitled "In Event of Moon Disaster," and the speech was written in the event that the Apollo 11 lunar lander couldn't take off. I guess that was the only part of the mission that had not been tested, and it was one of the most dangerous parts of the mission. One of the most the part that apparently there was a lot more doubts about it than people may have realized in public. So they had a special speechwriter named Bill Safire write this speech just, for the fact that for Americans and people that hear that, there's two astronauts literally stranded on the moon waiting to die of starvation, dehydration, or freezing to death, one of the three, was kind of the worst case scenario. So the speech is really, that's the title of the speech. When, of course, the Apollo 11 successfully took off, the speech was buried in the National Archives until it was digitized in 2013, I believe. And like I said, it's all of a sudden kind of come to light or come to the surface and been a big story across the country in the wake of the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 mission. So it was our first concept record where it was kind of a focused effort around one idea the entire time, which is really interesting way to write. I really enjoyed that. So,
how did the music come about?
Started with trying to imagine what would be the right sound for it. So we explored a few different, ideas that were maybe outside of what our normal sound was. But as we started writing, one of the first songs we wrote that made the most sense to me, I guess the first part I attached to is trying to imagine being in the heads of the astronauts. And that's really what the entire album is. So it's not necessarily about so much about the literal sense of taking off, going to the moon, going into outer space, as much as the focus was trying to imagine being in the head of the type of people that become astronauts and the type of people that rise to that kind of challenge,
Right.
And exploring all the fears, doubts that would come along with it, all the pressure that would come, and then saying goodbye. So the first song we actually wrote on the record was a song called "Goodbye Letter." And "Goodbye Letter" is, I was in the military, so when you're stationed in North Carolina, aren't you in North Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stationed up in Vietnam. So I remember when I would get deployed, and you'd have a goodbye letter, kind of ready, and it was always in the event of something terrible happening, what you'd want to say to the people that you love,
Right.
And so that was the first thing I thought. I was just imagining writing that, because I'm sure all of them wrote those letters, and so at least that I could find, they'd never been made public. Thankfully, they were never needed,
Right.
But just imagining saying goodbye. And so it started with that, and that's what kind of started off. It was just easier for me to imagine being in their heads and what they're about. Whereas most songs, I come from more of a singer-songwriter background before I was in Throat Finches, and you have a tendency to really draw from deep personal experiences, and you're always trying to back them up just a little bit to make them relatable to a wider audience. But in this, when you're writing a concept and you're able to imagine something else, it's freeing because you're not having to draw on something so personal and so deeply emotional. You can take things from the outside in rather than from the inside out.
How can the listeners purchase the music?
Yeah. You can find it on all the streaming services. You can also find it. You can order the vinyl record if you're a vinyl collector. We've released some really special, like first of its kind vinyl that is like, you know, gold and red colors, and I mean, it honestly looks kind of like a supernova exploding or something. It's really amazing what our label is able to do with the vinyl itself. So, you know, I'm a big believer in vinyl. I think people connect music in a deeper way if they would take the time to do that. But you can find it on the little streaming services. You can find it on the CDs, or, you know, you can find it all on, you know, Amazon as well if you want physical copies of the CD or the vinyl record.